Yo, what's up, gamers? So, I only walked into the break room for 2 minutes. 2 minutes. I wasn't even here to clean anything. I just needed coffee before the next shift started, and the first thing I see is the break room printer spitting out pages like it's filing a report to corporate. So I grabbed the stack, and it's a Prime game list. Apparently Amazon just dropped 13 free PC games for March, and somebody printed out the whole thing like we're preparing for a strategy meeting. Now these don't all release at once. Prime Gaming rolls them out every Thursday throughout the month, and you can claim them through GOG, the Epic Game Store, Legacy Games, or the Amazon Games app. Plus, if you've got Prime, you also get extra games you can stream through Amazon Luna, which basically means if you already paid for Prime because you ordered something dumb at 1:47 a.m. last Tuesday, you might as well grab the free games too. But before we start breaking this down, hit that like button, subscribe if you want more gaming drops like this, and tell me in the comments down below which free game actually caught your eye this month. Alright, grab them up. Let's see what Amazon just left in the break room this month. So kicking things off, on March 5th, Prime Gaming brought back a deep cut from the RPG archives, Siege of Avalon. This is a classic isometric action RPG from the early 2000s, where you arrive at the Citadel Avalon, basically the last fortress standing during a brutal war that had been raging for over a decade. The city is packed with refugees, enemy armies are closing in, and you're trying to track down your war hero brother while helping defend the fortress from invading hordes. Gameplay is very old school RPG energy. You pick a class like fighter, scout, or mage, build your character with skill points, collect tons of gear, recruit companions, and work through quests and story chapters while exploring the siege-torn world. And fair warning, this game absolutely comes from the year 2000 School of Design, which means massive dialogue trees, confusing menus, and enough reading to qualify as homework. But if you love retro RPGs where the story is the main attraction, this one's a pretty cool grab. Also starting March 5th, Prime Gaming added a very different kind of game to the lineup, Tattoo Tycoon. This one's a tattoo shop management simulator where you inherit the last struggling tattoo studio in a once famous ink hotspot called Tattooga Bay. Your job is basically to rebuild the business from the ground up. You decorate the shop, hire artists, manage customers, run marketing, and slowly expand your little tattoo empire while trying to keep everyone happy. But the real twist is the tattoo minigame, where you actually have to trace tattoo designs with precision. Mess it up, customers walk out. Nail it, and you get better tips and repeat clients. There's also a ton of customization, weird customers with specific tastes, and that classic Tycoon energy where you're juggling time, money, and reputation. It's definitely one of those cozy but chaotic management sims, because apparently Game Pass isn't the only service sneaking weird simulators into the break room. And probably the most recognizable game in the first drop also arrived on March 5th, Tiny Tina's Assault on Dragon Keep. This is a standalone version of one of the most beloved DLC expansions from Borderlands 2, where the entire adventure takes place inside Tiny Tina's chaotic tabletop fantasy campaign. So instead of the usual Borderlands wasteland, you're running through a Dungeons & Dragons style world filled with dragons, skeleton armies, goblins, and ridiculous magical weapons. But it still plays like classic Borderlands looter-shooter chaos. You pick one of the Vault Hunters, build your character through skill trees, collect absurd amounts of randomized guns and spell-like grenades, and blast through enemies either solo or in co-op with friends. The whole thing is narrated by Tiny Tina, acting as the dungeon master, constantly changing the story mid-game, spawning enemies, and breaking the rules just to keep things unpredictable. It's about 8 to 12 hours long, packed with Borderlands humor, and honestly one of the best stories the series ever told. Next up, arriving March 12th, Prime Gaming is adding Mahokenshi, the Samurai Deck Builder. This is a tactical card battler set and fantasy version of feudal Japan, where you play as a powerful samurai mage known as Mahokenshi. Each warrior belongs to one of the several elemental houses, and your mission is to travel across floating islands and fight back demonic Oni corruption spreading across the land. Gameplay mixes deck building with tactical strategy. Your cards determine everything: movement, attacks, defense, and abilities. But positioning also matters, because battles take place on a hex-grid maps filled with terrain bonuses like forests, rivers, and cliffs. So the strategy becomes building powerful card combos while using the battlefield to your advantage. Across missions, you'll collect new cards, upgrade your abilities, and experiment with different builds as the difficulty ramps up. Also arriving March 12th, Prime Gaming is dropping one of the biggest strategy games ever made, Total War Rome 2, Emperor Edition. This is the kind of game where you build an entire empire from scratch during the rise of Rome. On the campaign map, you're managing diplomacy, politics, trade, armies, and city development across a massive map stretching from Britain to North Africa and the Middle East. You can play as Rome or one of over 100 factions, each with their own units, strengths, and strategies. Then when war breaks out, the game shifts into huge real-time battles where you command thousands of soldiers at once. Legionaries, cavalry, siege weapons, even war elephants. You're positioning formations, managing morale, and trying not to get flanked while the entire cities burn around you. The Emperor Edition is the polished version of the game with improved AI, better balancing, and extra campaign content. And fair warning, this is absolutely the kind of strategy game where you sit down for one turn and suddenly it's 3 in the morning. This is the classic I will lose 80 hours of my life strategy game. Also arriving March 12th, Prime Gaming is adding a simulator that's basically capitalism with mud on its boots, Turmoil. This game drops you right into the 19th century oil rush, where you're trying to become the richest oil baron in town. Each round starts with land auctions where you bid against rival tycoons for drilling rights. Once you win a plot, you send down prospectors to find oil underground, build derricks, lay pipelines, and start pumping crude into storage silos. But the real trick is timing the market. Oil prices constantly fluctuate, so you're deciding when to sell, when to store, and when to expand your operation while your competitors try to outplay you. As you make money, you upgrade your equipment, unlock new tools, and slowly turn a tiny operation into a full-blown oil empire. Rounds are short, addictive, and chaotic, where one good strike can make you rich, and one bad investment can leave you broke. Like I said, it's basically a capitalism simulator with dirt. And the last game arriving on March 12th is a deep retro throwback called Veil of Darkness. This is a classic isometric adventure game from the early 90s, set in a creepy gothic horror world. You play as a pilot whose cargo plane crashes in a cursed Romanian valley ruled by a powerful vampire lord named Cairn. The entire region is basically trapped under his control, filled with villagers under dark influence, roaming monsters, and supernatural threats like werewolves, ghouls, and undead creatures. Gameplay mixes point-and-click exploration with light RPG mechanics. You'll talk to townspeople, collect items, solve puzzles, and slowly uncover the prophecy that says you might be the one who can finally defeat the vampire and break the curse. It's very old-school adventure design too. Limited inventory, real-time combat, lots of dialogue, and plenty of moments where the game expects you to figure things out on your own. So if you like digging into PC horror games with a heavy 90s atmosphere, this one has some serious retro charm. Next up, arriving March 19th, Prime Gaming is adding a small but addictive roguelike called Questionnaire. This is a turn-based dungeon crawler with a really simple idea at its core. Every room forces you to make a choice. Do you leave and move on safely, or do you interact with whatever's in the room and risk monsters, traps, or strange events that could either help you or completely ruin your run? You'll fight enemies, collect weapons, open treasure chests, and deal with weird hazards like mysterious potions or dangerous altars while exploring procedurally generated dungeons. Combat is turn-based, inventory space is limited, and because it's a roguelike, one bad decision can end the entire run. But if you play smart, collect the right gear, and learn enemy weaknesses, you can push deeper and deeper into the dungeon. Runs are quick, chaotic, and perfect for that just one more room kind of gameplay. Because in Questionnaire, your choices literally decide how far your run goes. Also arriving March 19th, Prime Gaming is adding a fan-favorite space adventure called Rebel Galaxy. This is a space combat sandbox where you captain massive starships while exploring a frontier galaxy filled with traders, pirates, corporations, and rival factions. The game kicks off when you inherit your uncle's old ship and get pulled into a story involving smugglers, power struggles, and mysterious threats lurking across the galaxy. Gameplay mixes space combat, trading, exploration, and ship upgrades, but the big twist is how combat works. Instead of flying like a fighter jet, ships fight using naval-style broadsides, meaning you position your ship to fire massive cannons and missiles from the sides like a space-aged pirate ship. So battles end up feeling like pirates' galleons, but in space. Outside of combat, you'll haul cargo, mine asteroids, salvage wrecks, and slowly upgrade your ship into a massive war machine. It's a huge sandbox with dozens of ships to unlock and hundreds of star systems to explore. Basically, space pirates with laser light shows. Closing out the month on March 26th, Prime Gaming is adding another huge strategy game, Total War: Three Kingdoms. If you've never played a Total War game before, the idea is simple, but dangerously addictive. You're leading a faction during the collapse of Han Dynasty in ancient China, trying to rise from a regional warlord to the ruler who unifies the entire country. On the campaign map, you're managing cities, armies, diplomacy, politics, and alliances across a massive map filled with rival kingdoms. But when wars break out, the game shifts into massive real-time battles where thousands of soldiers clash around the battlefield. Infantry lines collide, cavalry charges from the flanks, archers rain arrows, and legendary generals duel in the middle of the chaos. One of the biggest features in Three Kingdoms is the character system, where rivalries, friendships, betrayals, and political intrigue can completely reshape the campaign. So one bad diplomatic decision can turn an ally into your worst enemy overnight. It's easily one of the deepest strategy games in the Total War series, which means this is another massive Total War game sneaking into the lineup and probably stealing your entire weekend. Also arriving March 26th, Prime Gaming adds what might be the strangest game in the entire lineup, Chimp Quest: Spirit Isle. This is a stylized indie adventure and time management game where you're guiding a group of monkeys that get shipwrecked on a mysterious island. Your job is to help them rebuild their little civilization by gathering resources like bananas, wood, and stone while exploring different parts of the island. Along the way, you'll unlock specialist chimps who can do different jobs like farming, building, scouting, or defending the group from hazards. Also arriving March 26, Prime Gaming is adding a gritty sci-fi strategy RPG called Deep Sky Derelicts. This game drops you into a rough future where society is split between rich citizens living comfortably and desperate scavengers scalping by in space. You play as one of those scavengers, building a small crew and sending them into abandoned alien ships and space wrecks to search for loot. Exploration is done room by room as you scan derelict ships, manage your energy supply, avoid traps, and decide which paths are worth the risk. When combat starts, the game shifts into turn-based tactical battles using a card system where your abilities, weapons, and gear determine what actions you can take each turn. So every mission becomes a mix of strategy, resource management, and deck building combat while you try to bring valuable salvage back to your station. Over time, you recruit better crew members, upgrade equipment, and take on bigger wrecks in search for rare technology. It's basically space scavenger strategy. And the final game arriving March 26 is pure retro RPG nostalgia, Phantasie Memorial Set. This collection brings back the original Phantasy trilogy, classic fantasy RPGs from the mid-1980s that helped reshape the early days of computer role-playing games. These games are very old school in design. You create a party of characters from different races and classes, explore overworld maps and dungeon mazes, talk to townspeople, gather clues, and slowly build your strength while trying to stop the dark wizard Nicodemus from conquering the world. Combat is turn-based and tactical with your party lined up against enemies while you choose attacks, spells, and defensive actions. The trilogy evolves across the games too, adding things like ranged weapons, more spell options, and deeper character progression. But make no mistake, this is hardcore retro RPG territory. Lots of grinding, lots of reading, and absolutely no hand-holding. So if you love digging into the roots of the RPG genre, this collection is basically a time capsule of early fantasy gaming. So yeah, after digging through that breakroom printout, it turns out Prime Gaming didn't just drop random freebies this month. It's actually a pretty wild mix. You've got classic RPG throwbacks, massive strategy games like Total War, weird business simulators, a Borderlands fantasy spinoff with Tiny Tina, old school retro adventure titles, and even space combat with Rebel Galaxy. Basically a little bit of everything, which is great, except now I gotta bounce, because the breakroom printer just started spinning out the list again, the copy machine is beeping like it's under attack, and Gary from IT just walked in and claimed both Total War games like they're his birthright. But before I go, if you enjoyed the video, do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel for more gaming news and free game drops, And tell me in the comments down below, which one are you claiming first? Are you grabbing Tiny Tina, diving to Total War, or just hoarding everything like a digital goblin? This is Scruffy the Janitor signing off. Peace out.